evening. Hey, it's Dwayne again. I'm here today to say thank you for coming back. It's good to see you. Technically, I don't see you, you see me, but you get the gist of it. Anyway, tonight, this is lesson 4, and the lesson is on sanity or insanity, whichever way you like to look at it, okay? Lesson 4, week 7 and 8. It's February the 28th, okay? It's a little cold and I keep running out of memory and having to redo this, so this is my third try, so hopefully the third try is a charm, right? So we're still on principle 2 and step 2. Earnestly believe that God exists, that I matter to Him, and that He has the power to help me recover. Matthew 5:4 says, "Happy are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted." Step 2 says, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves can restore us to sanity. And Philippians 2:13 says, "For it is God who works in you to will and to act in order to fulfill His good purpose." So we've already been through the denial. We know what denial is. We know that it's pretty much hiding us from ourselves, okay? And we're no longer hiding us from ourselves. We've got the light shining on ourselves, and we're looking at ourselves and some of these things that are holding us back in life. We've admitted we were powerless, that we can control certain situations in our life, but some of the things we're trying to control and we keep feeling like a failure about because we keep falling on our face, basically, we've decided that we're powerless on those things and that we're going to ask, or we have asked God to help us to pull from His power to help us get through some of these things. All right, and then we realize that there is hope for us, not just because of that, because God exists, that He's there, and that He loves us, but because we can also put the past behind us. A true Christian, one that's not, leaning a little bit too hard on the judgmental side, they recognize that God put David in the Bible for a reason, even with all of his faults. A good Christian, a grown-up and a mature Christian, also understands that they put Paul in the Bible for a reason. He wrote a good bit of the New Testament, okay? He was Saul before he became Paul. And he basically was just a terrible, terrible, terrible person. And so we can have those two examples to see that our past life has no effect on our future life. Matter of fact, some of the greatest leaders can come out of a life that was not so good, okay? So, Paul was pretty much persecuting the Christians. It's kind of like, anyway, let's just say that he was a bad guy, okay? David had done some bad things, probably worse things than you. So we know there's hope for us, right? We know there's hope, and we have hope. We believe there's hope. We know there's hope. And so now we're also in this sanity part where we believe that a greater power than ourselves can restore us to sanity. That's part of the step 2, okay? That power greater than ourselves can restore us to sanity. So the first two principles are pretty much in our chaos stage. We have chaos in our life. We pretty much don't understand. We're fairly intelligent, or we're super intelligent, and we don't understand how a guy that maybe made less grades than us in high school or in college is much more successful than us. And then we think about, well, we've got these things in our life that are holding us back, right? And keeping us from going forward. And we've got all these hurts from 30 years ago that we're holding on to, that we've got to get rid of. And so, so now we're in the restore us to sanity stage, and we accept that God can restore us to sanity. And I'm going to go through a few definitions here, because I want you to understand the context of what we're saying here, the sanity definition. So we're going to talk about a few definitions. And we'll start with the insanity definition, okay? And then we'll go to compulsive behaviors and impulsive behaviors, and we'll go to enabling. And so basically, insanity, the dictionary definition, is a state of being seriously mentally ill. You're probably not seriously mentally ill, okay? That's not where we're going with this lesson. Where we're going with it is pretty much the quote, and you've heard this before. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, but expecting something different the next time you do it, okay? In other words, you're driving from point A to point B, but you don't understand why you keep arriving at point B when that's where you're going, okay? So we've got examples of cause and effect, like such as complaining of why your Friday paycheck is always gone by Monday, because you're spending the money on things you don't need to be spending the money on. Let's just say, and I kind of try to add a little joking in this. I'm not doing it in a judgmental way, but I'm adding a little joking in this thing. Okay, so here's another example. You have 10 illegitimate children by 10 different mothers, and you're working on number 11, and you haven't quite figured out what's causing that yet. You haven't figured out what's causing those children to be born by all these different women, okay? And you don't understand why you're booked up. The judge put you booked up for paying child support for the rest of your life until you're dead. Here's another one. You've been married 5 times. You've been married 5 times, and you're working on number 6, right? And you tell everybody, well, so-and-so, husband number 1, husband number 2, husband number 3, husband number 4, and husband number 5, they were all bozos, and that's what caused my divorce. But you or reversal, wife number, so-and-so, wife number so-and-so, wife number so-and-so. She was the one that had all the problems and what's caused my divorce. So either way, you haven't accepted any responsibility for the faults, the choices you made. You either made a mistake either during the marriage, made mistakes, or you made a mistake picking the person that you married, or a combination of both. So you're working on number 6, and then that's going to be a divorce too, because you haven't accepted any responsibility whatsoever yet. So now we're going to go to what compulsive personalities are. Okay, compulsive in the dictionary definition says resulting from or relating to an irresistible urge. Okay, especially one that is against one's conscious wishes. That's where you're driving home from work. You're an alcoholic. There's a gas station that has your favorite brand of whiskey and it's on sale, and you say, I want to go home and I want to be sober and spend time with my family sober this time. But you get next to the driveway and you just have this irresistible urge just to pull in there, and because it's on sale, right? It's always an excuse. It's always on sale, or something's going on, okay? All right, so here's another example, okay? There could be a casino there, okay? Or it could be a guy's house on your way home from work that sells you drugs. Hey, it could be a beautiful woman, okay? That's your weakness, and she smiled at you, and she's got that little sparkle in her eyes when she looks at you, and you know that you have a chance with her, and so you pretty much put everything else to the side just to fool with her, okay? So, and you're not getting anywhere in life because there's always some new beautiful woman around the corner, okay, that's going to take you down. So anyway, okay, so that's pretty much those. Now we're going to talk about enabling for a second. Enabling, because you need to know what an enabler is, and you need to know what it is to be enabled. 2 different things. Both of them are not good, okay? So enabling is when someone is in their addiction and there's someone else in their life who continuously allows, or unconsciously and consciously allows, bad behaviors in that person to continue or get worse by fixing, solving, or making the consequences of the bad behavior go away. Sort of like you had a kid that got his driver's license and he just totaled his second vehicle. You go out and buy him a third, no questions asked. Or you have a 40-year-old daughter living with you that's addicted to opiates, and she's stealing all your medicine out of the medicine cabinet, and she's putting pressure on you to go get you some prescriptions on top of the prescriptions she's already got to feed her addiction. Or you have a son that keeps getting in jail, and you keep spending money to get him out instead of just letting him sit there, and realize what he's done. So anyway, I have a few stories I'm going to share, and look, I prayed about this. I've struggled about telling you this story, okay, at least one of them anyway. I mean, I have a lot of stories. Look, I'm an empathetic person. Genetically, I have studied my DNA, and there's something called the empathy gene, and I inherited an empathy gene from each of my parents. You can only inherit 2. You can inherit none from both parents. You can inherit one from one parent but not the other, and you've only got one empathy gene. I got both of them. So I have, over the years, helped a lot of people, or, had people cross my path that were in disadvantageous situations, so to speak, and went and bought them groceries. I mean, I've given people money, but I've also had them in my car and taken them to the grocery store, or took them out to eat to figure out what their situation was and this kind of thing. Now, like I said, I prayed about this, the advantages of telling this story and the disadvantages of telling this story, because some of you people haven't ever gotten off the couch and been around people. But if you get around people that are suffering, people that are hurting, people that have had a lot of stuff happen to them, and people that have addictions, I mean, a lot of times there's reasons why people are homeless and having problems, okay? Sometimes it's mental illness, but other times it's drugs and addictions and things. And sometimes I look back at what I've done in life, helping people and who I've had in my car, and I'm thankful that I'm still alive. And I try not to do that as much anymore. I mean, I haven't done it actually in a while because I'm taking care of my mother. But anyway, there was a guy, black guy, an older black guy that was, stopped me in the parking lot at the post office one day in Selma, Alabama. And his arm was deformed, like this. I'm not making fun now. I'm just describing this guy. And he was having trouble talking. And I couldn't understand what he was saying, just every fifth word maybe. And so I had to get a paper for him to write down what he was saying. And then I realized some of what his situation was and decided I was going to take him wherever he wanted to go to eat, and then I was going to buy him some groceries because he was saying he needed some help. And the guy looked like he needed some help. He was not faking, okay? I mean, I'm pretty good at reading people and know usually when people are faking. Not always. I'm caught off guard sometimes, but I do have a pretty good little intuition or discernment about people. So I asked him where he wanted to go. Kentucky Fried Chicken was his favorite place. That's what I asked him. I wanted to take him to his favorite place. So we went there and we sat there, and I couldn't hear or understand what he was saying, so I had a piece of paper and was asking him questions, about his situation, how many strokes he had, when he had them, if he was going to church somewhere, this kind of thing, and trying to get an idea of where he was in life. And so let's skip forward. I messed up and I gave him my phone number, okay? Something I should never do, and I've made that mistake before. He literally bombed my phone. I mean, it was just... And then you couldn't understand what he said, so I'm like, I can't understand what you're saying, And so, anyway, this went on for a couple of weeks. And so he calls me, and I had been ignoring his call. I finally said I was going to answer his phone, even though I couldn't hear him. Well, this time he started out on the phone, and he gave the phone to a woman, okay? And this woman got on the phone. She said, he is so thankful for such a man like yourself that helped him, that he's got a little small present for you. And he wants you to come by and pick it up at such and such address. And so I thought, well, it can't be much. But I didn't want to. I was thinking, really, honestly thinking that he had something more. He was wanting some money or some groceries from me. But the guy supposedly had something for me, a present. And so I get in the car and go where I'm supposed to go, where I'm told to go, right? And this is, look, I've got to tell this story. Look, drugs, when I was a kid in high school, there was hardly nothing around. You had to go to the big city maybe to even find pot, okay? So we didn't even have pot, or at least I didn't. The closest thing we had to pot was rabbit tobacco. We didn't have any of this stuff out there today. And this stuff isn't going to go away. You have to hear these stories, and you have to know what's going on out there. There's some stuff going down that would just blow your mind. And if you got kids, man, you really need to find out what's going on. And so that's why I decided I'm going to go ahead and tell the story, okay? So I show up, and the guy's there. He's in his 60s anyway, so unless he had a gun or something, he's not going to do anything much. But there was a young, and she was very attractive white girl there, and there was a black guy that was probably about her age there, and I didn't know and I didn't ask, okay, what was going on, but I never want to give the impression that I think I'm better than anybody. I mean, I've always been that way, and honestly, we don't ever know what's what. I mean, people in tough life can turn around and just, God can give them 20 crowns and you only get 5 or nothing, or get into heaven by the skin of your teeth or whatever. So you just never know about life. And there's that verse where it says, you never know you're helping someone, you might be helping an angel, right? So that stuff's always stuck in my head. And even though at times, there was, probably some dangerous situations, and this was a potentially dangerous situation I was getting into. So they're cooking and everything, and so he's got a little present. I think it's a little tape measure, a little cheap tape measure or something that he gives me. And so we're sitting there talking, and the whole point of the visit was to get the present, say hello, talk for maybe 5 or 10 minutes. I'm a talker anyway, if you hadn't figured that out. And then get back to the house. I'm not going to stay there in this situation. I don't even know these people. I don't even know him, okay? Really. But I don't just hang out with people, but I try to figure out situations, and I do have an empathetic heart for people. And here we are, this little shack of a place, and no cars outside. So we're talking, I'm getting ready to leave. And so then the girl she said, look, I need to run over to the store. Do you mind taking me? So we don't have a car or anything. And I thought to myself, I thought the question that asked my head was, who is this guy over here? Is this her boyfriend, or who is this? I don't know who this is. It's not her brother, for sure, because they're not the same color. So, this is going through my mind, because I don't want to get anybody jealous or anything like this. And so I look over at the two guys, and they're like, hey, whatever, And then I got to thinking, this is where my heart kicked in, right, instead of my brain, okay? My heart kicks in, and I thought, there's not a car in the driveway. There's 3 people here, and none of them have a car. And I felt sorry for them. And so, what I should have been asking myself was, why don't these people have a car? I mean, this guy's got to be 30 years old. She's got to be 30 years old. This other guy's 60 years old. There's not a car here? What's the deal? How did they even get here? Did they walk here? I mean, what's the deal? I didn't ask that. I let my heart interfere, and I said, myself, they don't have a car between the 3 of them. I'll take her to the store, come on back, and I'll get back to the house. So she gets in the car, and I'm driving in Selma here, and, she starts telling me her life story. Now, she's a smart girl, and that's what the thing is. She's an intelligent girl. She's not some dummy. So we're driving, and she's telling me her life story, and she tells me about her kids, how her husband and her divorce got the kids. And now that does raise a question in my mind, because I know women always get the kids unless there's something bad wrong, okay? And in most cases, women get the kids. So that's when the little red flag drove up. I mean, there's already some red flags here, don't get me wrong, okay? I mean, there's already some red flags in the whole situation. But, so she tells me about how God came into her life, and Jesus Christ, and how what God has done for her, and all this kind of stuff, And I'm thinking, oh, this just makes it all worth it, Here I'm doing this girl a favor, and, she's got God in her life, and that just is great, she's moving forward with her life. So she's telling me all this stuff, and then we pull up to a stop sign, and she says, look, I'm going to just get to the point, she says, and she lifts her top up, and she drops her shorts right there. Everything for God and everybody to see, if they wanted to look in the car, was laid out right beside me at a stop sign in Selma, Alabama. And man, let me tell you, I have a good fight or flight response. I mean, I've got a strong limbic system, and man, just a million thoughts was going through my brain at one time. Like, the first one was, what is the situation I've got myself into here? And the second thing was, she did that, and she said, "Look, I'm in a tight for $20. I'll do anything you want for $20." And then, of course, the first thought was, how much is the rent? How many $20 bills does it take to pay your rent? You know. And then the second thought was, that's got to be her pimp back there at the house, and not just her boyfriend. And then the third thought was, he's going to be expecting something when he gets back. And she's like, $20, do anything you want. I'm like, no, okay, no. And then I'm trying to get, out of this situation, trying to figure out how I'm going to get her back to the house pretty quick. And when I said no, she thought that I was afraid, because she'd mentioned going to a little park there and parking. She thought I was afraid of that. I had nothing to do with it. I'm not afraid of being in the car or going to a park or something with a girl. I just didn't want to be there with her. So, anyway, what's the next thing she said? Oh, I know what it was. Okay, when I said no to the park thing, she thought that was because I was afraid of going to the park. And then at one point she thought it was because of the $20, right? She said, look, forget about the $20. She said, this one will be a freebie. And because I know you're going to be coming back again. And I'm like, no, it's not the $20. And she said, well, look, if you're uncomfortable with the park, we'll just go back to the house and I'll tell the guys to leave and go visit one of the neighbors or something. And I said, okay, this woman's not going to give up. I'm going to turn around like we're going back to the house. And then and she's probably going to be in trouble because Pimp Daddy's going to be wanting his money. He's going to be mad at her. He's going to be mad at me. I don't want none of that on my conscience. I get back. She gets out of the car. I get out of the car just for a temporary, and he's waiting for me there. And I said, hey, buddy, look, I got, and he's looking at her, right? He's not smiling, okay? He's got a frown on his face. He's looking, he's like, well, is something wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? She's like, oh, no, nothing's wrong, because she was still thinking I was maybe going to go in the house, right? And I said, hey, buddy, it's glad meeting y'all. I forgot about all this paperwork I got to do back at the house. I got to go. All right, I got to go. And so I did. I left, and I don't know what happened after that. But I blocked the guy's phone number after that. I know that for sure. But look, here's the thing, man. You need to know that story because that's somebody's daughter. Somebody's daughter. That guy, that's somebody's son out there, right? She thought her worth was $20. $20. That's how valuable she thought she was, right? To give it all up, to do anything that I wanted. $20. And my question is, how many people said yes? How many Christians said yes? How many people took her to the store and said yes and enabled her behavior? Every time you give in, it enables somebody's behavior, right? It enables it. You are an enabler. So, anyway, I don't know what happened to her childhood. It may not have been anything. It could be that just she got into drugs and the addiction took over her mind and all she could think about was getting some crack or something. But it goes back to the compulsive behaviors. At some point, you lose a little bit more and more and more of your soul and your conscience. It just disappears. And then, it used to keep you up. The things you do would keep you up at night. But then that stuff goes away and it doesn't keep you up at night anymore. What makes someone so bold? I mean, I didn't even take her out to eat or for a movie. And so my point is, if you're listening to this and you've been in a situation like that, and I'm talking about from her standpoint now, and if she ever listens to this, I've been careful not to, I don't even remember her name anyway, and I don't even remember where the place is. But look, you're worth more than $20. You're worth so much more than $20, and you've got to learn your worth. I know I'm worth more than giving you $20. Not only are you worth more than $20, and this is going to hit home for some more of you. You go out on your first date, and a guy takes you out to eat, and he takes you out to the movies, and then you sleep with him. Aren't you worth more than a movie and supper? You know, you're worth more than that. You know, he's worth more than that. He doesn't accept his worth. He doesn't have any respect for you, right? That's because he don't have any respect for himself. He's got things going on with himself. You're worth more than $20. You're worth more than a movie and supper, okay? God sees what your future is. It doesn't matter what your past is. It doesn't even matter what you are today. What matters is that you get on the right path with God, okay? And all that stuff, man, all the stuff you did in the past, all that can be changed. You know, I remember back in college, I've always been a little quick-witted, and sometimes I joke around, and you know, I talk with everybody. And there were two girls in college in chemistry class, and you know, one of them, and they were good friends. They always sat beside each other, and one of them was all prim and proper. Everything was nicely ironed and tucked, you know, and she sat up like this, you know, in class, and just really a tightly wound up woman. I mean, just tightly wound up. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I think, you know, just sensing her. But, you know, I remember she made a statement. She said, you know, when I get married, I'm going to marry a doctor. Well, that automatically kicked me out of the loop because I knew I wasn't going to be a doctor, right? So I didn't like her as much, but she was all right. But there was another one that was really just carefree and relaxed, more of a free spirit kind of girl. And, you know, instantly sensed that with her. And so, you know, it was like a 4-hour class, and then, you know, halfway through we'd have a break, and I was standing up there talking to the teacher, which happened to be about a 35-year-old lady, you know, asking her some questions that I don't even remember what they were. When the blonde came up there, the more loosely free-spirited girl came up to me, and she said, Dwayne, she said, you know, I don't have any money, I don't have any change on me, but I want to drink. She said, look, if you let me borrow 50 cents, for 50 cents, I'll love you forever. And I looked at her like I didn't even blink, man. And I said, well, if you love me forever for 50 cents, what will you do for $5? And I didn't blush. She didn't blush. I was just joking anyway. It was a joke. But that chemistry teacher, boy, she turned red as a tomato. But anyway, know your worth. I mean, that's what's killing me about that story about that girl, $20. And I was talking to somebody about it. And they told me that it's like normally $10. It used to be $10. So I guess inflation, right? So you used to be just worth $10, and now you're worth $20 to do anything a guy wants, right? Anyway, so I wanted to tell you that story, and then I'm gonna tell you another one. I'm gonna tell you this story real quick, because I'm gonna end this thing up here pretty quick. All right, I'm not gonna mention any names or scenarios, but there was a guy that was in the program, and from out of town, basically, and he had a lot of drug addictions and alcohol addictions and everything, and his girlfriend slash wife had, the mother of his child, I should say, had a lot of drug addictions and everything. And the program changed his life. He never could get her to come out but once. But, you know, the drugs were terrible. I'm going to tell you the story about his mother's, his daughter, or his son's mother, okay? She sold herself to get drugs. One day she got a call, you know, to go, I guess, get some money from a guy and have sex with him. And she went to a vacant house, right? And when she got there, it wasn't just the one guy there. There were 5 big guys there. And they gang raped the hell out of her. I mean, it was bad. And not only did they do that, some of them smoked cigarettes, right? Then they took the cigarettes and they burned her skin, burned her face with the end of the cigarette and her body. You just don't imagine the stuff that's out there, that you get into these drugs and everything. Is sad. It's really sad. But anyway, this guy, he decided he wanted to change his life and become a better person for his children. And he did. He stayed in the program, and his life changed. And I saw the change in him through the process. And so then after a while, he got to giving his story where, that gas station I was telling you about earlier that had the beer, where he used to go get a 12-pack and go home and drink it while he watched TV instead of spending time with his kid, right? So now he would stop by that same gas station, have his kid in the car, and he would go get her some juice or something. And then that extra time that he was sitting in front of the TV, he would take her out to a park or something, and they would go for a walk and play in the park. And, the people in this guy's life saw that he changed, right? They got to asking him questions about how he changed, why he changed, because they wanted to change too. This is the impact that you can have when you change your life and some of these habits. But this is also, I wanted to just share this, look, this lesson is sanity. And the opposite of that is the insanity, doing the same things over and over and expecting a different result. There's some bad stuff out there. Bad stuff. All of these people is someone's sons and someone's daughters. And the church has got to step up. Somebody's got to step up and help these people, because these drugs are doing it in. And look, divorce rate's higher than it's ever been. I've been divorced, I know. There's a lot more stuff to get into than it used to be. And the Bible talks analogies about, marriage and the bride of Christ. And, if marriages keep breaking down, does that mean the marriage of society? The marriage of society, is that going to keep breaking down? If you can't hold it together at home, is that the glue that holds society together? Okay? When collectively these things keep getting worse and worse and worse, which is going to make more and more hurt in life for a lot of people, and hurting people hurt people. We've talked about that. But so I don't know here. What do you do in that young lady's situation, okay? I mean, she's probably done blown away all of her parents as far as they've lied to her and stealing from her and everything, and so she thinks she can't go talk to them, right? What do you do in that situation? She's living with her pimp, I guess. I'm assuming. I mean, I didn't ask the question, but she don't have a car, she don't have a job. What is she going to do? If you're in that situation, I want you to know there's some things you can do. And first you better drop to your knees and pray. And then you stay in this program. You go to a church, and you go to a church and you talk to enough people until you find some people willing to help you and give you some counseling and some advice on how to get out of that situation. That's what you do. Don't keep selling yourself for $20. Sooner or later, somebody's going to beat the hell out of you and even kill you. I mean, there was another guy named John Ruffin who's dead now, so I can say his name. I used to pick him up from time to time and take him and buy groceries. And he was a pretty nice fellow. He was a little mentally off up here, and someone used to manage his check, from what I understand, a relative or something. And he'd always want me to drop him off at a different house, because he'd live with one cousin, and they would kick him out, and he'd go live with another cousin or whatever, right? One day I saw John on the street, and he was visibly shaken. He was visibly upset because he got his money from whoever was giving it to him, and several guys beat the hell out of him. A mentally ill guy now did that to John. And he didn't live, that's not what killed him, but he didn't live long after that. But I could see in his spirit how bad it hurt him. The street's a tough place. The street's a tough place to be on. There's a lot of people on the street, a lot of sons and daughters. And there's a lot of people that end up on the streets. And we can't save all of them, but somehow there's got to be something there to help. and I'm trying to do my part here, and and I hope I can help some people, and hope I can encourage some other people to step up a little bit. Okay, step up a little bit while there's still time to step up. Because if it goes continue to get worse, it's going to continue to get worse unless some more people step up and try to help. I mean, apparently there's not enough going on to help, or else the situation would be much more improved and not getting worse. Is what I'm saying. I don't care if it's all the way up to the President of the United States or Congress or local communities, but the problem is getting worse, and something's got to be done about it. And it's going to take more than just prayer. The Bible talks about don't be just praying for people. You got to help people, You got to help too. Or it's not going to be worth the salt that you think it is. You got to step up. And so I'm going to end with that. And look, y'all have a good night, and I'll catch you next week.